Well, you know, unfortunately, money and collections go hand in hand. And in these days of tight budgets, or non-existent budgets, depending on where you are, it becomes imperative on all of us as clerks to comply with the statute and tell us we're the collectors of the world. We collect money for everybody, and we keep very little of it for ourselves. So that creates a major issue and a major problem across the board. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you the collections are easy, because they're not. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, but it's a lot of satisfaction when all of a sudden you get that SOB coming in the office and paying you for that $50,000 on traffic charge that he's kind of complaining about for the last 3 or 4 years. In Seminole County, we built a new criminal justice center and had an opportunity to move into that facility in 2004. And so we really started building that building and designing it back in about 2000. And part of our guidelines from a clerk's perspective at that point was that on the big courtrooms on the first floor on the north end of the building, south end of the building, we wanted a room set up just strictly for what we called the payment area at that time. So we had a distinct advantage. When a defendant walks out of the courtroom, he has to go into that payment area in order to get the minutes. So we have a captive audience. He can't go out any other way. The big thing that everybody's got to remember about collections is the money you get up front on day one, the more you get, better you are. We're not dealing with the cream of the crop. In fact, in some cases, we're dealing with something a little bit lower than whale can do. So you kind of, I'm kind of bored, guys, but that's pretty well. So you kind of got to look at your caseload and ascertain, where do I have the best shot of collecting the money? Now, we're going to start with what we consider to be the easiest stuff, and that's criminal traffic. Now, criminal traffic can be a DUI, it can be a failure to renew their driver's license or give you their registration for 4 months or more, is some of those lesser crimes, unless it's petty theft. The biggest problem you've got collecting money on a misdemeanor case or criminal traffic, and petty theft is a misdemeanor, is going to be on a petty theft case. Somehow, they don't pay. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you threaten. Those are the worst offenders in the world. But your criminal traffic should be your guiding line, because, number one, many times there's a fine involved with it. Not just court costs, but a fine. Remember, you get 10% of that fine money that you collect. You get to keep it. So if you do nothing else, you go after that money where there's a fine involved, and you collect those dollars. If you have to put something on a back burner, it's the petty theft, because what we found in Seminole County, they're not going to pay you anything. The hardest one to collect on, obviously, is the felonies. Whether they go to DOC or they don't, they're on state probation, they're a bear. They're a bear to collect. We've had a couple of run-ins with state probation, because we'll get a payment plan on a felon regardless of whether they're, if they're signed up for state probation, we don't care that they're signed up for state probation. They told us, well, you can't get them to do a payment plan because they're paying us. And my attitude is, read the statute. You're not collecting my money for me, you read the statute. The statute says I have to do it, so tell me where they are. Give me their phone number, give me their address, and I'll take it from there. Now, I will tell you, I haven't necessarily made any friends when it comes to dealing with state probation, but their attitude is plain and simple. They're going to collect their money first, and then by law they're going to collect restitution, and court costs and fines, they're just going to give it, hey, it's not a problem, your problem. And by that time, the felon has gone to wherever. A lot of the felons do commit multiple crimes, so by the time they're getting ready to get off state probation, guess what? they're back in the system again. And after the third crime, sometimes the judges send them to jail. If they go to DOC, you're not ever going to collect the money. We also, once we get a payment plan established, we're kind of hard-nosed. They'll come in and they'll say, well, I can pay $10 a month. And we go, not good enough. How much do you really afford? Well, maybe 15. All right, try 103. In other words, we try and set that dollar figure for them. Now, we use a piece of software called RevQ, R-E-V-Q. And they're out of Washington State. It is software geared totally for collections by governments. And you kind of design a lot of it yourself with their assistance and their help. And what we do is this software automatically, our case management system will automatically update RevQ every night. So we know what payments have come in. It produces work lists, it produces letters, it produces a calling schedule, it has multiple areas on it where you can put multiple phone numbers on it or different addresses on it. It's easy to change it. I can work it most of the time. And if I can work it, it's okay. That means it works. What happens is when we get the information off our case management system, automatically fed into RevQ, the next morning we have a staff of 6 collectors. Their responsibility is to look at those new cases that have come into the system, and if they don't have a payment plan, because not everybody goes to those 2 big courtrooms on the first floor, if they don't have a payment plan, we get a postcard out to them. The earlier contact you get with these defendants, the better off you are. If you wait 3 weeks, forget it. You're not going to collect it. So within the first 5 days, we try to send a postcard out to them. And then we set a follow-up date. That follow-up date might be 5 days after that, where we pick up the phone and we call them. Or if we don't have a current address, we try to get one. If they're sentenced to Seminole County Jail, then we set up a date on when they're anticipated to get out of jail. So if they're sentenced for 6 months jail, we'll set it up for 5 months. So we have a little bit of advance notice of are they still in or are they out. If they're sent to DOC for 3 years, our system will automatically trigger it so that within 2.5 years, that starts showing up on what we call our work list that the collectors get on a daily basis. My biggest advice to everybody is that in these days of tight budgets, you can't go out and hire staff like we did in the beginning of 2004 when we were gearing up for this. And I didn't have a crystal ball to ascertain what was going to happen, after our careers in Central March for 5 days. But I grew up in the private sector, and my first job was in collections. So when I took office and started looking at our whole receivables, I about had a heart attack. I'm like, how do we collect all this money? What do we do with it? How do we do it? And so when we built the Criminal Justice Center, it was an ideal opportunity at that point in time to put together a plan and a goal and objective to say, this is what we've got to do, and to hire the staff. Now, ideally, I could double my staff, and I would probably increase the revenue coming in. But I don't think I would double the revenue, because on our criminal traffic right now, on an average, we run about 80 to 85% collection rate. On our civil traffic, we run right around 90. On our misdemeanor, we run about 75%. And on our felony, we run somewhere between 20 and 25%. But even cases, and this is 2012, so even cases coming out of the system in 2009, because that's when they're getting out of jail if they've been sentenced to DOC for 3 years, they're on our target list to start calling. So nobody escapes. I mean, we collect all the money, but we sure are going to make it a hell of an effort to try to get there. I think that the big advantage with RevQ is the ability to look at the 5 or 6 collectors that we've got in our office, and it will show me on a day-by-day basis how much each one of them have brought in. So I'm kind of hands-on on occasion. And so I will send this information out to the collectors, and I will send it out with a graph attached. So it's both there in the numbers, and it's there in a graph format, so it's visual. They can see it. Have they gotten a little irritated with me on occasion for doing that? Yeah. Do I care? No. You know, I'm not going to tell you that there aren't areas of improvement, because there always are. I don't know how sometimes they could do better other than if we had more people, because we will send 2 people to the back, what we call the back of the courtroom, every time there's court going on. That means I've only got 4 collectors inside the department, and one of them is at the front counter, helping with anybody that walks into the front counter. On the National Center for State Courts, there is a notebook, I guess is the best way I can put it, that you can download and print out. There's a lot of it in there that's idealistic, and it's not practical. But there's a lot of information in there that you can take and manipulate and manage to your own offices. And let me give you an example. We have what we call flashpoints. Now, a flashpoint is, for instance, Christmas. Flashpoint is the beginning of February. Christmas, because people get money for Christmas. And we'll call them and tell them, you get anything for Christmas? Bring it in. The 1st of February, because if any of these people are working, they get their tax return, right? Again, it's a flashpoint. When we get flashpoints, our revenue goes up because we will work that 2 weeks in advance. And we'll just hit hard. Now, a lot of these people obviously don't have jobs, they're not paying taxes, and that creates a little bit of a problem. But I think if you look at some of our February statistics, we're popping $600,000 to $700,000 a month coming in just in that 1 month of February. And that's because in January we started working these flashpoints, and in December we started working the flashpoints for Christmas. If you don't have the staff to do anything else, just take one person, pick a category, don't take felony, forget felony, but take either misdemeanor and leave out the petty thefts, take misdemeanor criminal traffic, and just go through those and ascertain which one of those have fines attached, okay? Work those cases. The best vehicle in the world is one-on-one contact. It's picking up that phone and calling that person and saying, you need to come in and make your payment. It's also the most difficult, but it's the most effective. If you can make those phone calls and get noticed out with these people early, you're going to collect the money. Our revenue, as far as clerks go, is dependent on the amount of revenue that we bring in. I found it very interesting that back in 2008, when we were a revenue, our budgets were based on the amount of revenue that we brought in. Clerks collectively throughout the state were bringing in around the neighborhood of $521 million. Not a bad figure. If we took that $521 million today and divvied it up, we wouldn't have financial problems. In 2009, we switched over to an expenditure model. And our budgets got set by the legislature. All of a sudden, nobody gave a damn anymore about how much money was coming in. The only thing they were caring about was how much can I spend. In other words, we collectively did a 180-degree turn. Now, if we turn that back 45 degrees, because we're never going to get back to the 520, they took some of the money away from us, gave it to other entities. But if we turn that back, 90 degrees, if we turn that back 45 degrees, the money that we generate across the board all of a sudden is going to exceed that original $446 million that we were originally allocated before they decided to trim our budgets. It's dependent on you and all of us to collect as much as that as we can. So I'm telling you to go for the easy money. And there is a lot of easy money money out there. I know most of you utilize collection agents, and I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but what happens with the collection agent? Every month or every week you send a caseload to them. Please collect this money, right? So they work the easy cases. The next week or the next month, guess what? They get another influx of cases. So what do? That first month's gone by the wayside, and we don't want to spend our time on that. We get money if we collect on these. And over a period of time, those cases that are now 6 or 8 or 9 months old, then you damn about them, because that's not the easy money. You as individual clerks and staff can collect the easy money, but you've got to be able to sit down and work up a game plan on how to do that. And that is by what's happening in your own counties. You know it better than I do. I have no trouble trying to figure out Seminole counties. I haven't figured it out yet, but one of these days I'll get that light bulb clicking. I want to talk just a little bit about some of the issues that we've run into that I'm sure you've run into also. I've already talked about state probation, county probation. Most of our judges do not put the fines and court costs in probation. It's up to us to collect it, and we're like, fine, we can collect it. We have a good rapport with most of our probation officers. So if John Wetzelwski's missing, or we can't find him because we got a letter back saying addressee unknown, we get the information from county probation if he's on probation. And that's a key. Our judges are a mixed bag, like I'm sure they are in most of your offices. Our felony judges put everything in judgment automatically. And they do that because they don't want to be bugged with it anymore. We've tried to talk to them and say, this is your order, and these people are just kind of defying your order. And their comment is, it's your problem, Maryanne. You're the one that's charged with collecting it. Our county judges are a little bit more cooperative, but we've got a couple in there that just continue cases. And about the 15th time that they continue the case, I go a little ballistic and say, okay, enough's enough. We have several cases, and our software will tell us all of the cases that same defendant had. And I'm now in the process of printing all of those out. So if John Wetzelwski's got 15 cases, I print them out and I send them to the judge. And they look at me and go, oh, okay. I said, what I'm trying to tell you is don't continue the damn thing again. He's not paying, get him to do something. Some of them are cooperative, some of them aren't. We were called into question by the public defender because we were trying to collect this money. And the public defender was basically telling his customers or his clients, you don't have to pay these, don't worry about it. It's a mixed crowd, and I can't really tell you what my response to that was. But those of you who know me probably can guess. We kind of went to court on that, and it's an interesting scenario because all of a sudden they backed off. They want us to collect their $50, but they don't want to cooperate with us in collecting their court costs and fines. Plea agreements. And everybody's getting plea agreements. If you read your plea agreements, there's nothing in that plea agreement that says anything about paying your court costs and fines. The state attorney and the public defender get together, join hands, and they say, well, you know, don't worry about that, that's not our issue. And that's something that we're going to be addressing this year, that if you're going to make a plea agreement, at least, for crying out loud, put in that plea agreement, you must pay your court costs and fines. Do I think it will have any effect? No. But we have something to back up on and say, this is what you agreed to in your plea agreement, and maybe we can get the judge's attention with that. Randy?
Maryanne, would you work with the state attorney to bring that effort forward and not necessarily involve the PD with that concept?
We'd have to work with both. Public defender is the one that's telling defendants, they're customers, but they don't have to pay the fines. So we've got to get over that. And once we get over that hurdle, then simultaneously we work with the state attorney and say, look, we've got to put this in. This is just helping everybody along. I've already explained our situation with state probation, so I won't bore you with going into that again. But there are issues out there with, quote, our partners, unquote. We think of them as our partners, and they think we're paying them, you know what? I think that's just the way it is. So you have to work through some of these issues. But again, my advice, if you want to start a collection department and start collecting money, you know, go for the easy bucks and go for those that have fines involved. Your office gets to keep 10% of that, and you can spend it for any court activity that you want. That's a heck of an incentive to do. Anything else is kind of gravy, is the way I look at it, because most of it goes to 900 different sources.
Marianne, is that you have a fine, for the fine pretty much paying for those staff, covering the cost for those staff?
Oh yeah. Our cost for the 6 people, I think it includes Rita, 7 people if you include Rita, is running around $350,000 a year. I collect twice that much in a month. So it's very cost effective.
Maryanne, have you given any thought to pre-trial diversion cases, setting up something there where you can get a cut of that action as well? Or?
No, and we've just got an administrative order that they're going to start doing veterans court, mental health court. We're already doing it. So, you know, I'm selfish and a little piggy when it comes to money. I kind of look at that as money being taken away from what I'm going to be able to collect. But there's not a whole heck of a lot that I can do about that from a practical standpoint. I did ask the question if the state attorney was going to get any funds for doing veterans court or doing mental health court, and I kind of got this. That was the answer. So it's like, okay, whatever.
I know one county has an agreement with their state attorney to get $100 administrative fee for setting up all the paperwork and case and that kind of thing. I don't know if that's something that we can explore collectively or not, but it sounds like a pretty good concept.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can, I'm not sure what the statutory authority is for that, would be my first concern. I mean, I don't know that there is, but I don't know that there isn't either.
We're not, by statute, we can't fund the specialty courts from state money, correct?
Correct.
So are they going to your board and getting the board to?
They got, on the mental health court, they got a grant, which we said this has to include the clerk. We're in the process of working with the county attorney to say get a county ordinance, and while you're at the mental health one, do it for veterans at the same time, so we've got all 3 of them. But yeah, there's certain things we won't fund. And we told the judge that we can't have an individual in the courtroom or change our docket screens or do anything unless we get that county ordinance where I can bill somebody.
Maryanne, in your circuit, have you seen a real drop in worthless check charges because state attorney took a different route in the file case? And we not had
Decrease.
I know it's increasing actually.
It's actually increasing.
Well, in our circuit, the state attorney started, if you had a worthless check complaint sent to the state attorney, they sent out a letter. And they had a scale. If the check was from $1 to $50, the state attorney got a certain fee. If it was 50 to 100, and it was all the way down to like 300. And they're taking in megabooks by doing that because they can file cases against them. Well, I got a call from court administration. The year before, we had filed 169 worthless check cases in the misdemeanor court. And it fell the next year to 40-something. And they sent me a letter and said, what is the cost? So I went
They did that to us, because I have one individual whose sole responsibility is to go after NSF checks. They issue a check to the clerk that balances, man, they're going to get their funds kicked right from here to Kingdom County. And they told us that they would prosecute on our cases. And I kind of went to our state attorney and said, you've got to be kidding me. This is something that you're part of the system, and you're telling me that they're not going to prosecute on an NSF. And they went through this whole rigmarole, and they finally came around to my way of thinking.
My head.
So.
And what they tell you is, do you want the citizens of this county to be charged with a worthless check charge if they made a mistake in their document?
Now my answer to that is hell yes.
And that was what he left with me, and I said, well, if they did, and the affidavit was filed, and you prosecute, then you need to prosecute, but they never charged. So my case was...
That makes a good issue for the media, a very good issue for the media. And unfortunately, a lot of that money that they're getting directly, either through that or diversion programs, is not accounted for as sophisticatedly as we would account for them.
There's also that statute that says we're personally liable if we don't turn it over for prosecution.
Right.
About a bad check. So you can use that.
Can't change your mind.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts, ideas?
Maryanne, your software that you're using is it set on top of your case management system, or how integration?
Yeah, it's integrated into our case management system. Our case management system is, how do I explain this? From our cash sharing system, it uploads into the case. And then from that, every night we update what goes into our collection system, so that they're generally in tandem with each other.
But that's the system where you put in the to be notified date, if you will, 5 years from now, whatever.
Yes, yeah, it's the collection system, what we call revenue.
Expensive. The system.
Everything's expensive in this day and age, but everything's relative. But we started out with a different system called Easy, and the initial E is initial C. And once we started rolling, we couldn't integrate it. We had to key everything back into the system. And after about a year, I went, this ain't going to work. I'm going to hire more staff to do it. So we did a search and came up with RevKey and met with those people. And like I say, they're geared strictly towards collections for, quote, governments. So it works not just with criminal fines or whatever, but it would work with like Parks and Rec or anything else that the county has. I don't remember how much it cost, but it wasn't that bad. It was pretty cheap. If it had been that bad, I wouldn't have bought it, but I would say it was for us, and remember, it's based on user needs. It was less than 30 grand. So it wasn't all that pricey.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you established an amount for the payment plans? Do you have a schedule of what you expect, or how do your collectors?
How do we do it? By the seat of our pants. We're kind of in a situation where obviously Seminole County is right next to Orange County, and Orange County has a collection board. And it's a very tight-knit group of counties, and they'll have some kind of a crime in Orange County where they're paying $10 a month. And then they get charged with the crime. The Seminole come up here and say, well, we're paying $10 a month in Orange County, and our attitude is, you're not in Orange County anymore. So it depends on kind of graph. I mean, I'll admit it. We kind of look at the individual and what we think they can afford, not what they tell us they can afford. Because if they tell us what they can afford, it's going to be $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month. And then we'll set it, and we'll start high. I mean, we'll say, you got to give us $150 a day on a $500 fine. We started at 50% and decided that that was a little extreme and kind of popped down. And we'll work with them and we will tell them, look, if you're not willing to pay this every single month without notification, we're going to have a problem. But every one of them is different, and every one of them has a sob story. Everyone has an excuse, but then you look at what they're wearing, and if they're females, I'm not into brand names, so you're gonna have to excuse me here. But they're doing Prada, they've got cell phones, and they've got all this other crap. And you look at the guys, and they're wearing all this jewelry that's probably more expensive than my entire wardrobe. And they're telling me they can't afford it. And I've said to a couple of them, get rid of your damn cell phone. Well, you would have thought I would kill Randy and his parents. What do you mean, get rid of my cell phone? I said, you got a choice. You're going to go to jail, or you keep your damn phone. What's your option?
Do you trace the letters here?
No.
Go back to my introduction.
I think that what I try to instill in everybody is that we're there to provide a service unless you owe me money. Then if you owe me money, we don't have to provide you a whole heck of a lot of service. We will do our job. We will do it with a smile, but you're going to pay us. I mean, that's probably tacky, but well.
I'm just to say gold teeth around there. They like hot, and it covers for great peace and violence. We let me have that.
Well, years ago, and this was happened to be on the civil side, but a woman came in and wanted to be indigent for filing a divorce action. And we had to fill out a form and all that crap. And we said no, and she got very belligerent. I mean, very belligerent. We had the sheriff's department follow her out to her car, and she's driving a brand new Cadillac. And they came back in and told me that, and I was like, that should not be let's sell her damn car. So, you get all kinds, and then you've got people that really can't afford it, and those are the ones that you want to work with. But you can pretty much, after a short period of time, and if you're in a smaller county, you know a lot of the people. So maybe $10 or $15 or $25 is the most that they can afford. On the other side of the token, if you're in a Palm Beach or Seminole or even a Collier County, that's meaningless. It's like they're not going to pay. So target your audience, target what you want to go after, and then go after that. We target those with fines first, and then we work everything else, because I want that 10% money.
When your collectors take information, do they get where they're employed and how much the hourly rate is, and all for you to determine how much they should pay, or you don't get any of that?
No, we don't. We will ask them for their employer and address and phone number, but I would probably venture to say that a good 60 to 70% of our defendants will say they're unemployed. So whether that's valid or not, who knows? We don't. I care, but until the law changes where I can do a deduction from their paycheck without having to file a suit against them to do so, I'm not interested in who they work for, because I really have to follow the Fair Practices Law anyway. Can I call them at work? Maybe, maybe not. We try to get their cell, we try to get their home number, we try to get a number for them if we can.
It would be
track
nice
them that way.
if the law changed that, if they had an IRS return guy. They do it right.
And it's like I say, it's not easy, but it's fun on occasion. And if you can create, if you have 2 or 3 people that were doing this, and you can create a little competition going among your staff to collect this money, it makes a difference between night and day, even in this age. We went through a period of time where if they brought in X amount of dollars, they got a little star. You know, or you can, there's so many things out there that you can do to generate that competition and to try to get your staff enthused about it, because they do work their tushes off on a day-by-day basis, just keeping up with the volume. And we have a lot of cases, obviously not as many as say, a Dade County or Hillsborough or Broward or something like that. But for 6 people, yeah, we got a lot of cases out there. Because we're doing probably 7,000 felony cases a year and 13,000 to 15,000 misdemeanor and criminal traffic cases a year. So I got 6 people dealing with this. So, but I doubled my staff. Yeah, do I have the money? No. So
And you don't do that coordination either?
pardon?
And you don't do coordination?
No, we don't. We do not use a collection aid. It's all collected by us, and that's kind of a, you know, I've looked at it on occasion, and I thought, you know, if I'm collecting 80 to 85% of my dollars, what am I hiring somebody to do?
Do your judges order the fines due that day, and if you aren't able to pay, then they say go see the clerk, or they go see
They will generally say that if you can't pay in full today, you must set up a payment plan. Most of them will say that, but like I say, for the most part, we've got a captive audience because I've got to go to our payment area in order to get out of the building.
But you don't have judges that go 90 days to pay. Like we
No, we have, yeah.
Say, okay, you can have 90 days to pay.
We have that too, and my directions to the staff is, I don't care what the judge says. Are you serious? Well, you know, I explained to one of them a couple of years ago, you know, you've given this guy 6 months to pay, and he owes us $560. Do you really think in 6 months he's going to come up with $560? It's a heck of a lot easier for him to pay us X number of dollars a month than it is to wait, and then you're going to take him back to court. You're wasting your time, and you're sure as hell wasting my time, because I got to have a clerk there, I got to pull the file, I got to do all this crap. So let us set the thing. So I really ignore it, just like I ignore state probation.
And they, or you can turn on your judges, don't give you free over that?
No, they don't. They kind of know better. I get along pretty well with my judges now.
So I think you established boundaries early on.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Being a collection agent is truly a skill. I mean, there's trained skill for that. It's more than just a behavior. I know that there's a lot of space on behavior that have an aptitude to do it, operate a certain way. But since all of us are getting into this full force as real collectors, it seems like as an organization we should have more sponsored, dedicated type of collection agent training. It is a skill. It should be out there for all of us to take advantage. Because some people are hesitant. It has that bad guy feel to it. And when reality is we're supposed to be doing.
I think that the one thing that we look for in staff when we're at a point where we have to hire somebody for the collection division is they love to be on the telephone. That's a key. We also try to figure out what's their demeanor on the phone. You know, most of us in this room are political animals. And I can tell you that years ago, before they had all of this robocalling, we used to set up phone banks for campaigns. And the one thing that we used to advise candidates in phone banks was, put a mirror in front of your phoners. Now, why am I saying put a mirror there? Because if you're smiling, it comes across on the phone. If you're angry or PO'd, that comes across on the phone too. So what we try to do is, what's their demeanor on the telephone? Are they soft-spoken but firm? Are they articulate? Can they talk in a multitude of language? Are they fast on their feet? In other words, do they think quickly? Because some of these defendants are not stupid, and they come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. It is your responsibility to make sure that the people that are making these phone calls can respond instantaneously. And it comes a little bit over time where they get accustomed to it, But the key there is, how are they on the phone, and do they enjoy being on the phone? Because if you're going to make phone calls, which is the most effective way other than that face-to-face, if they're missing either of those qualities, you're not going to be successful. And it doesn't hurt even in this day and age to use that concept of saying, put a mirror down. And that's not to say that when you're talking to John Putzowitzki and saying, you know, you owe us $107 and you haven't made your payment, that you're laughing at him. But you want that pleasantness to come back out of your voice, but you still want to be firm about it. You don't want to be wishy-washy. You don't want to be, well, it'd be nice if you paid us. You know, you owe this money. I can take you back to court if that's what you choose, your choice. We cannot expect it. Now, that brings up an interesting thought because a lot of times I've told
I have to say, yeah, that's coming, you ain't that your definition of being pleasant, right?
yes. No, it gets a little better than that because I don't really ask them when they want to pay. I give them a deadline date. Yes. And remember, you're setting the tone. So if somebody says, well, I can't pay it tomorrow, I say, okay, Friday will be fine. Can you pay Friday? No, all right. I can't give you any more time than Monday. If it's not here by 5 o'clock on Monday, I will notify the judge. Now, do I always notify the judge? No. But they don't do that. And that's where I'm saying, you know, firm, but not necessarily dictatorial. But you've got to set the tone for it. Because if you let them slide, they're going to slide.
Forever.
Forever. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with what you're saying, too, because we do a lot of role playing with our staff to kind of get them worked up a little bit, and we'll try to go back and forth with them to get them there. But one of the biggest issues that we have is that statute is so blank in a sense that, you know, less than 2% thing. How many times do you allow them to modify the payment plan, if at all?
No, we do allow them to modify the payment plan, and I think the most I've ever seen is 3. But we charge them each time we do it. And well, if that's kind of hard to explain. If they've taken 6 months, we charge you $5 a month, and we do 30. If they don't pay within that 6 months, and they say, well, I need another 6, then it's another $30. And we collect that up front. It's like, you can modify your plan, but you're going to pay us X number of dollars up front. I want a good faith estimate here on what you're going to be able to pay. But I don't think we've ever done it more than 3 times, right? Twice generally can happen, but 3 times is the max, and after that we'll just go, yeah, right. You haven't paid the last 2 times. We had a situation that developed last year where we had a defendant that had a case in our office since 2007, several cases after that, who claimed that we stole the money. And we were like, okay, bring us proof. We'll check our records. We don't have an issue with it. And it was, on occasion, 5 times a week she'd be calling. I called the county commission. She called the Sanford City Council people. And she was calling everybody under the sun. And then one day, they said, you know, Jane Putzowitzki came in and paid off her case. I was like, no kidding. Really? Then her kid got in trouble. It's like, oh, Lord Nation, here we go again. But we went through pure hell for a year. And she was insistent. And we just kept saying, bring us the proof, bring us the proof, bring us the proof. Obviously, she didn't have any proof. But it was an interesting scenario. We just said, we can't charge you for this. I already paid it. We don't show it. Well, you stole my money. Show us. You know. Eventually, she came in and paid. Wonders never cease. Any other questions?